Jeff, you got it. If you want to sit, we made it where y'all are behind the
Oh,
tables.
funny.
But
I didn't realize
you
that.
don't. Oh, you're loud. I was wondering if it was working. Yeah, you got me so confused.
Oh, that would be bad. Just set it up front of the counter. Sitting there going.
This is another one I will see as a video.
That's an interesting one. That's got grants for people over 62. Because we drain into Lake Wichita. Our groundwater goes into Lake Wichita. That's a program for protecting. And Lake Wichita has some federal, state, water purification, blah, 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 blah. They qualify for it.
Over 62. I saw something where they were taking samples out of the lake.
Yeah, paper thing.
Making mud bricks.
I hope that works. I hope that they accept that.
Oh, I think it will work. It's just, seen a compressed earth block, that's what they're doing. So it's a big compressed earth block, like third world countries use it to build their buildings. Looks like a cinder block type thing, but it's made out of dirt and everything. They put in just hydraulic thing, build it.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be like bulletproof, cut your insulation, all this other stuff down, but it's just one of those.
It's not gonna be, feasible for home construction.
Well, here's the deal, if my wife has the choice between, some nice regular brick or some compressed earth block, I can tell you what I'm gonna be buying. I got
I didn't hear anything from Tyler.
No, me either. He was.
You
Call it to order.
call the meeting to order.
We'll do a roll call real quick. Got Mike here, Davis, got Larry, got Wade, Keith, Tyler's absent so far. Tom, Jeff, Jim is absent, he's excused. And Scott here. Carl Robinson, was on the task force committee. He emailed me today, and he has a lot of stuff going on with his family and everything else. So I think he is gonna have to step down from the committee and everything, so that will be a 9-person thing. If y'all wanna make a motion to accept his resignation, and then second, I would need that.
All right, I'll make a motion to accept Carl Robinson's resignation from the board.
Yeah, so I thought we would start off with a little show and tell and updates. I know a lot of time pictures are worth 1,000 words. So here's these pictures that I'm gonna show you here first are from Jeff. So this is a typical septic tank riser that we see so many different ones. I say we, Jeff sees so many different ones in sewer companies. So that's the bottom thing down there is more or less the access hole where you gotta pump it out, and then there's 3 concrete risers on there. And there's no sealant between those concrete risers.
Is this a stacked riser, just stacked them? Okay.
Yeah, so they're just stacked on there, no seal between them, so you can imagine when it's rain, groundwater and everything else, it just dumps right into the top of it.
Next shift.
Yeah, and So that's one of the things we're looking at coming back, and we'd have to, at some point, fix these, or we're gonna continue to have that.
It looks
So
like
you have a
that,
metal lid on top, no other.
it looks like that particular one, yeah, it just has that metal lid on top, and it looks like it's sitting a little low on the ground level.
Yeah, no, you're right. Here's the next one where he came in and put his green riser on
I'm
top,
going to this, just to kind of show you what we're adapting.
right? Here's another one. This is a green tank. It sits right off of somebody's patio, and you can see how that's ground level. It was raining today, and it's just filling in. You can see how it's almost below ground. Water runs into it, mud drips into it, and you get that. It's hard to see because it's real dark and black, but there's tons of mud and tons of sludge in there, and that's the city's green tank, and that's the problem that we're having, when people don't get their septic tanks pumped out, or also when your green tank is not properly elevated and sealed, you have this. And so, here's another one. This is it getting pumped out. There's the water hose flushing it out, and the big vac sucking it out. Anything you want to add to that, Jeff?
Mine, I just took that picture, show the size of the openings that can go there.
That's pretty small.
By the time you get all that in there, it's hard to see what you're doing.
So here's the final product. So Jeff put the riser on, Jeff put the riser, forgive me. Jeff put the green riser on the septic over there, and you can see now it is above ground, sealed, everything else. And then, our utility workers came out and put that riser on above the sewer thing. I know it's not we have a whole lot more sealed system, if you will, to where the water's not running into it. I got quite a few pictures, just wanted to show them to you, all y'all ask questions, talk. Here's one, we found this one was a few months ago, as a change in ownership. Yeah, it was literally buried down in there.
Well, that's the green tank?
Yeah, the green lid.
That's
A little bit of green.
Yeah, and, I don't know if they just did some dirt work, all some stuff in or what. We had to come in there and now it's rised up and everything. So we face problems like that. Here's another one where the lid, we put a lid up underneath it and we doubled it up, but who knows how long. They called us and said, hey, my red light's on. It's usually they don't know anything besides the red light's on, which is what we expect. And, we come out and we find stuff like that. Here's one. I don't know if you can see it, but right up at the top of it, right here, it's been cracked, hit the thing. Weeds are going into it, grass is going into it, and then that falls down and gets all in the tanks. This was the worst one we've seen yet. I don't know if y'all can see that, the whole inside fiberglass of it, all right in here, is all busted out. So you can imagine what happens when that thing fills up or when it rains, what happens. Here's another one. We see stuff like this all the time. That's a green tank just buried down there. You can imagine when water runs into it, when it rains, like we get the rains today, all that water you get standing in the backyard just goes to the lowest point, dumps in there. I know we talked about this a little bit last week. This is the lateral line on these green tanks. Now we're coming back and capping them when we go back out there, but that's nothing for us to see when a big rain like this, you open that up and it's just dumping all the water from your leach lines.
I got something on that.
Yeah,
That's what my
please.
stuff is.
Yeah.
Okay. Like this right here is a simple swing check, where water can flow one way, but not the other, right? And the problem you were saying with installing them is that sometimes you don't have anything to hook onto. But I found an inside the pipe coupling. It actually goes like inside Schedule 40 pipe. So you do that like that, and then you can just glue it straight into there. 10-minute job. You still have where if your pump goes out, it can still use the lateral lines to protect the house, but nothing's coming back.
Let me ask you this, I'm just,
This is $45 worth of parts and about 10 minutes to install.
no, that's great. A lot of times these risers are, I mean, those lines are pretty far down, 2 foot down. Does that, I see, it looks like you got a lid on top of that. Does that lid need to be surfaced?
No.
Oh, so that can all be buried?
That lid, that could all, yeah, well, it can be down in that tank. It can be down in that tank as far as it can, it could be underground, even if you wanted to do
So
that.
you're saying?
I'm saying you don't even have to dig to put this in. You put this in,
Oh,
you put this in right there inside that hole, in that pipe right there, and all of this will be exposed in that tank, and you'll have an overflow that won't allow water to come back.
so that was back to the other one. So you're saying you would just pretty much tie on to that?
Just shove it in there, just like that. You got an overflow system that does not allow anything to come back on it.
Really?
And this is to, if you have, if the check is messed up, you can actually unscrew this and you can like that, you can clean the flat and everything.
You got a turd stuck in there.
Something like that.
Well, none of that'll flow through there, but,
I'm talking about
You can
getting back in here and it got opened up.
well, yeah, anything like that can happen.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
But price is good.
I thought they were supposed to have a check valve on those things.
So if you look at this picture right here, this is a check valve. And so all that does is, so when it pumps out of your thing and goes out to the sewer, it just doesn't allow the sewer to backfill.
Well,
into it.
I was thinking on the outside of these tanks, that there was a check valve that stopped, that only allow, what am I thinking?
The overflow, the lateral lines?
Yeah, you're talking
Jeff, what
about-
do they?
We haven't seen any of those.
Yeah, not
We've
that
got
I know
several
of.
Okay.
If it was
You're
supposed to
talking
be in
about
there, it wasn't.
On the pressurized side.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be right there at the septic tank,
The
that allow
pressurized,
the septic to go, one way, and that, I'm just saying,
the pressurized side has a check valve, and that's the check valve right there in the circle.
yeah, right.
But, yeah,
That's,
No,
is it,
that's easy, that's plug and play,
if we buy those in bulk, do we get a discount?
probably.
Do we get the Brian's Plumbing discount?
We can definitely make that happen. But
No, that's
I-
good. That's real good.
I mean, I can get it at our cost, at Brown's Home cost, and if we buy in bulk, I talked to different supply houses, get different prices,
I think we good to try some of
we could
those.
probably get it a whole lot cheaper here, that, I didn't even shop around for a good price for these, I
Really?
just snagged them.
No, let's talk after the meeting and get some of those going and stuff. Yeah. Jeff, do you see any concerns or anything with it?
I didn't come up with a check valve. We had to extend the locks that we were gonna drive in there. And just cap it.
Yeah,
And this really goes back to making it still useful.
the problem with capping does solve the problem of the rainwater getting in, but it doesn't solve the problem of your pump breaking down and flooding their house.
so there's a separate
They
inlet,
sue
that's the one going out to use as your
That's the
emergency.
height, yes.
And there's another inlet coming from your septic tank over to it, okay.
Yeah, most of them are lower down in there. I don't know if you can, yeah, it's,
Yeah,
usually they're at the bottom, somewhere
Yeah.
down in there.
okay, I'm
Um,
with you now.
I'm just gonna keep showing you all these pictures. Here's one we got called out on the other day and said, hey,
And
Joe went over with the lawnmower because it was, buried in all the weeds. We do run into this a lot. I don't know if you can see this. These pictures are not the greatest, but right here, there's a clean out. It's missing the cap. And so when it rains, and the thing is, right above it is the big gutter. So when it rains, it just dumps right into it. Here's another one. We're out, they called us and they're like, just, that's one of our biggest problems, is just clean out caps missing. Here's one that was called on, and they told us their red light was on and it wasn't, the pump was burned up, and it's hard to see in there, but there's tons of solids in there. So all that does is just the solids get down in there. Now here's the top of their tank, and they sort of wonder why there's a problem, but, in their defense, they didn't know and anything else like that. So that's why we're trying to come back in and start this whole, mandatory septic tank pump out. Any other pictures, Jeff? Or did you?
I sent you that video of that water running in from that backflow or that overflow.
Approximately how many pumps a year do you replace?
How many tanks a year?
No, pumps,
Pumps,
ballpark.
last year, and we got FEMA money for it because we had those big floods, we replaced 90 some odd tanks, 90.
Tanks or pumps?
Pumps, only pumps. We are heavily hitting, replacing a lot of these green tanks that are bad. And we do them on there's certain bases that we look at. I mean, just because your red light came on and you call us and say, hey, I want my green tank's bad, we do an analysis of it. How many times have we been called out there in the past 6 months to a year? Is it bad? Is it cracked? Is there stuff like that? There's other ones that are worse, and so we try to be very selective about that.
If the green tanks are bad, are we going back with the same product or are we using something else?
No, we're now going back with a concrete. It's no longer the green fiberglass like that. It's a solid concrete square one. I wish I used to have a picture of it now. I don't know where it is.
What kind of pumps do you use?
Little Giant,
Little Giant? Are they
120
the
volt.
grinder pumps or that can handle solids or not?
You would have to ask me. I think it's one of
I think
those.
they're 2-inch non-clogs.
So 2-inch what?
2-inch what they call 2-inch non-clogs, passable 2 inches. It will pass up to 2 inches.
Oh, okay.
I mean, ideally, you're passing water at that.
But it's not a sewage pump though. Like it's like.
It's not a grinder pump.
No, it's not a grinder pump.
Yeah, so could put something in the deal where if they don't have their sewer septic tanks not plunked out and it's getting solids in the tank, that they take responsibility for messing the pump up.
Yeah, and so that's one of the things that we face right now.
Right.
Somebody call, hey, my red light's on, we go look at the green tank, they got solids. I'll call them, I'm like, hey, you need to have your tank pumped out. Most of the time, they're very compliant, have it done, but there's times that they're like, no, I'm not gonna get it. And so then, that's where the legality of it all, because now they're causing problems to the sewer, to the city stuff, and having, that's why an ordinance like this would eliminate all that, to where you don't have to worry about all that stuff. Let me play this video.
And what is the approximate cost of the pump?
$527.
So you did 90?
Yeah, and they fluctuate up and down. There's times when we were paying $700 for them, and then there's times, I haven't seen them go down below 500.
That's a little bit right in there.
Yeah, you see how it's flowing back in there? This is what you said, Jeff.
But underneath there, you can see water coming off of the overwater too.
So you see that one at the bottom down there? That's the inlet where it's coming out of the.
That's coming from the tank because water was flowing in under those concrete risers that the first picture was showing.
And then that's the side.
That's where Keith's talking about putting that swing check in it.
They come from inside the pipe or from outside?
It's coming from inside, it's just moving over there.
Any questions or thoughts about that stuff? And then, I would like to, before we get into it, go over that. I hope you all had time to review the mandatory septic tank pump out and see, get y'all's thoughts on it. So we're going to have change. Scott sent me some changes on his, and we'll just start at A, and y'all tell me, I know on A, one of the changes were, shall be pumped, that last sentence, shall be pumped out at least once every 5 years or more frequently if deemed necessary by the city of Lakeside City. That's gonna be deemed more necessary depending upon how many people you have in your home. If you got 6 people in your home, you're gonna have to have it pumped out more regularly than one person in the home. That was one of the thoughts.
and a pump out would always require upgrading to city code, putting box.
Yeah, anytime they pump out, it has to be.
No, city
And,
code.
and as you do this first pumping and inspection, the people will tell you, hey, I had a pump 3 years ago, 5 years ago, I never had a pump. And you have some baseline to be able to say, okay, you know, it's a third full, you had a pump 3 years ago, yeah, you can go 5 years and 6 years. But right now, we don't have any idea of anybody's house and when they were pumped, how often they were pumped.
To get
Did
started.
you get my comments? You didn't?
We'd have to have a paper trail
Oh,
too.
sorry.
I thought for sure I sent
Set
them.
up-
Maybe I was just, maybe I was editing them and didn't send them.
Yeah,
I'm
No,
hoping
I never got
for a new
anything.
idea. Okay.
I saw you said one time, I'll take a look at it. I think Larry, you shared some stuff. and
Okay.
Comment, I'll take a look at it. Anything y'all wanna go over on that thing that y'all think we should change, look at, or do anything different?
The only thing I was thinking of is some places have grease traps. Would that include, when you say septic tank, would that include the grease trap?
Yeah.
Because sometimes you, like my system is a septic and I have a separate grease trap. If we put in there grease trap too, it wouldn't have anybody confused, say, well, what are you talking about? I don't see a grease trap in it.
No, that's a good point, Larry. Yeah, anywhere it says septic tank, we'll add the word grease trap to it.
Well, my thought on, that I thought I sent you was kind of also to tie to, the periodical inspections that the city would do with core sampling. You know, if city goes out there and finds someone has been taking care of their system and they're, you know, they're below 1/3, do they need to have it pumped that often? Do they need to have a 5-year pump? If it's like one or a little elderly lady that lives by herself, or 1 or 2 people, that if their tanks, you know, when we come out and core sample them after the initial, after all, and, you know, and they don't have to have pumped out in 5 years' time, can that be extended based on the findings of the city?
A lot of people can go 10 or 15 years, just depends. At my house, you know, I got girls and a wife, and you know, as much as I preach to them.
You know, I
They're
was
gonna do what they
visiting
do.
with a guy the other morning, and he said, well, we're religious about putting, what is Red X or
Red X.
whatever down. He said he had a guy come out and pump his out, and he said there wasn't a little bit of sludge in the bottom of it. But he went ahead and had it pumped out because he was having some other problems that,
The way I would think it would be is, say for instance, we have a widow lady living in a house by herself. She would still be required on the 5 years to have it come out and inspected, just because when you open it up and it's only 1/3 of the way full, it's real hard to get that good inspection on there because you can't see the bottom of it. So how do you know that at the bottom third of it, there's a hole in the sidewall? I guess it ought to be leaking out. I'm just talking off the top of my head.
you know, we do the initial, okay, we do the initial, just we're talking about, and get the riser and all put on there, and pump it out and all. And then come back and do like say, a periodical 5-year check. You check it, and that thing's only got 2, 3, 4 inches of sludge in the bottom of it, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then, I'm just saying, the city could save money if we did not
I agree.
have to pump it that often.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you. I'm not a sewer expert, so I don't wanna say, yeah, we could buy, what are your thoughts, Jeff, on something like that?
It's possible. I mean, I don't know. You're saying if you save the city money in 5 years, is it gonna be turned over to the city at that time? Once you get the initial inspection? Is that kind of where it was headed?
Yeah, that's what I understood, that, you know, the city would be going back and doing the inspections and then ordering the pump outs if they need to be
So
pumped out.
I mean, theoretically, Keith's probably right. I mean, 10 years on a widow lady, probably ain't too long, but you check it at 5 years, if you only get less than 1/3, then you may mark it, somebody keep track of it, we go back 12 months from now, we see what it's doing.
I'm just looking at
I
the
mean,
city,
biologics change.
you
a lot.
know, there's no need in, at 5 years pumping out a septic tank that They can be pumped out.
Right, I agree, no, yes, you're correct on that, yeah, you're correct on that.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be exempt from the inspections, right?
No, it shouldn't be an exempt from the inspection. Every 5 years, I would still like to, or get it set up on a rotating basis to where I don't wanna do it every 5 years. I wanna get like one section that, say for instance, we did the east side this year, well, in 5 years, we're gonna do the east side. Every house on the east side gets an inspection. Whether they like it or not, we come out there, we open it, we check it, we make sure everything's good, stuff like that. Now, after
Is
the
it
first
free?
time,
Free inspection or?
well, that's where we gotta decide is, you know, is this something we look at, making you fiscally responsible for every 5 years having your tank inspected and giving it back to the city? Or is this something that we add $10 a month to everybody's, sewer bill, and now the city takes on full responsibility, and it's something the city is required to do? We do it, we do the foot leg, keep the documentation, everything else.
I think you're more apt to get it
goes
done
that way.
correctly if you do it that way.
Yeah, yeah.
If we don't go, if we're going anyway with that, we're not gonna cure the problem.
So you're saying up the rates to get the figures, up the rates to whatever it needs to be, and then,
And everybody's gonna be compliant then.
yeah, and then everybody's compliant.
And
You're not-
the guy I was talking about, he said, man, I'm spending $15 a month already on the Red-X. I could do away with that, you know, and get on a regular pump out.
Does Red-X do?
On the
that
pumper
much?
standpoint, I don't recommend Red-X at all, because it does exactly what it says. It breaks everything down, makes it soluble, and it flows. So you get the solids.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have it that much at the bottom.
Yeah.
They went somewhere.
But it goes
But
some,
that little 6-8 inches at the bottom is so rock hard, you can't get it out of there. I mean, I call them sewer rocks at that point, because they're just there.
What do you
I don't recommend anything. I
recommend?
mean, all the schools you go to, the biologics will take care of themselves
Right.
unless somebody's countered it some way. You
I
know,
was-
strong antibiotics,
I was raised
chemotherapy.
on septic systems all my life in the country. My dad always put yeast down the toilet,
That's, yeah.
and that was a natural thing that he didn't do
Well,
that.
there's some stuff on there that's adds enzymes, it doesn't actually break it down and draw, pack it up. Beneficial bacteria is what it's called. But ideally, on a city like this, I don't think you put anything. Now, I know the old school people are gonna put their yeast
Mhm.
and whatever else that they were raised on or knew about.
Only
You're not
do-
gonna break them for it, they're just wasting their money.
Which works good for lateral line systems, but
Right,
I see your point.
What about antimicrobial soaps? Is that gonna
that's a
be?
big one too. And really, that's really gonna come into play, especially now where everybody's headed into the cleanliness of everything. Yeah, it really changes the biologics of the septic tank, which makes your scum and your sludge thicker. So getting your test later on at a time, that scum and sludge may be different than what it should be because antibiotic soaps. Biggest thing is too many people in a household on a single tank. There's not enough water in there to break down the solids, regardless if you got girls and toilet paper and everything else, but just no water in there. Water's key to everything.
So when you buy a house out here and your welcome packet, it says to use Red-X.
Yeah, no, that's exactly where I was thinking. I'm like, we got it in our welcome packet. Now,
Yeah.
that welcome packet's been that way for a while, but,
Sure.
no.
Well, that's just my opinion, but I
Well, I mean, your opinion,
I think you're wasting
in
money
a lot of ways, so.
So 8 years ago, they took some ingredients out of there, he said it was tainted, groundwaters. So they took it out, but they did change the packaging, and it just kept selling.
Remind me to show
But you
you.
just brought up a point, let's say a house has a single septic tank, and there's 6 people living in it, is the city gonna be able to come in and say, you need 2 tanks, or you're gonna?
Well, I
need-"
think if we go back, no,
I think you
that's hard.
leave it grandfathered at this point, increase your pumping frequency until it becomes where it wasn't past
That's what I was
inspection, and then you got to upgrade to the
Really,
new codes.
is there a way that you look at square footage of a house and say it needs to be?
Everything's based on square footage of bedrooms,
Okay.
and that tells you your minimum septic tank capacity. Doesn't tell you your effluent side, that's another criteria that tells you how many lateral feet you gotta have. That just tells you minimum tank size. For, I'd say, 80% of them out here are below the minimums.
That's what I figured.
That's why I don't wholeheartedly agree with the 5 years. I think there ought to be a 3-year deal,
Well,
based on the tank of the site that it takes.
where I'm thinking of, I was going off of this being homeowner's responsibility, but if we come in and up the rates to $10 and the city takes it over, then it's the city's responsibility, and we start doing it. We start asking, how many people do you have living in your house? Okay, well, you got 2, well, we're not gonna check yours, but every 5 years. But if you got 6 people living in your house, we're coming in probably every 2 years and doing an inspection, making sure that everything's all right, pumping it down, everything else. Now, you are gonna upset some people, because some people are paying $10 extra a month, they only got 2 people living in their house, but then I guess, because I think it's gonna be real hard for me to charge Tom, 2 people in his house, charge him $10, well, you got 4 people, I got 4 people, did we pay $20 a month? That's gonna be hard to do on a bill, everything else like that, to make the difference, so, I mean, I would assume you would just put one flat rate out there and charge everybody that rate, rather than trying to come back and, you got 6 people living in your house, you're gonna be charged double.
There's gonna be, there's gonna be people that are gonna be angry. So, I mean, $10 a month is, what, 120 a year, 600 for 5 years, and you can get your septic tank pumped out for like 350.
Yeah.
That's where the
That's
number.
Scott's reason behind it.
Yeah.
And Jim's not here tonight, but Jim made a great point. It's one of those things, it's almost like insurance. If you're telling me I gotta pay $10 a month to have insurance on my septic tank, to where if it is got a hole in it, then it's the city that comes in and does it, because believe me,
Yeah,
if you got a hole,
cost of changing the septic.
yeah, you're gonna be out of a big thing, so it's, yeah. And I'm just using the figure $10 loosely. We could be 5, we could be 15. I think we need to get some numbers of what all it's gonna cost to come back and do it before we put it out there. I think this still needs to be out there just for when homeownership changes, when real estate changes, you sell a home. Cause that way, if it's an old lady that's been there, we haven't inspected it, but every 5 years, at least when she sells it, the new couple moves in, we know what we're getting.
Would we need to take a city vote on it?
Yeah, this would
I would
definitely,
vote yes, personally, I like that.
no, this will just, we'll have to take this back to council, and then council will have to approve it.
Right.
Once council
We
approves it.
recommend and then they.
Yeah.
Take it from there.
So what you just said there, and I'm going to probably to the peanut gallery, but every 5 years, and also on a real estate transfer.
Every 5 years, and also a real estate transfer.
So you, house changes hands in that 5 years, you could get 2 inspections off.
You could get to them. And I'm saying they're inspected every 5 years, but you're probably gonna have to have them pumped out.
Well, with the real estate inspection, either the buyer or the seller's gonna be paying for that inspection, correct?
Typically.
So you wouldn't be paying for that one.
Right, yeah, you're
But you
correct.
still want it as your requirement that it needs to be real estate.
Yeah,
transfer.
just in case something.
Wichita's trying to change their state where it's mandatory.
Yeah. I think the hardest part that we're gonna face is trying to figure out how many people live in a home.
Yeah.
To know how often it should, because it's gonna have to be one of those, I say I have 4 people in there, so it'll probably get put on a sheet that gets inspected every 3 years. What I'm thinking, if you got people that, or 6 people in your home, it gets put on a sheet that's almost inspected every year. If you got 2 people living on your home, it gets put on a spreadsheet for every 5 years. That's, just getting that information out of people is gonna be the hard part.
And obviously that changes over time.
Yeah,
We used to have 5, now it's 2.
yeah.
And that graphic you had last meeting, you had, minimum was 1,000 gallons, it dictated how many people. There's some out there that shows 500 gallons, because there's a lot more 500 gallon tanks out here than there are 1,000.
Yeah, there's a lot more what, Jeff?
A lot more 500 gallon tanks than there are 1,000.
Yeah, so.
The newer stuff will have 1,000 in it.
Okay.
Could, on line B, couldn't we just add that depending on number of occupancy? Just say a line after sewage and, on-site, required every 5 years, depending on the number of occupancy of.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, yeah.
I like instead of saying it shall be pumped every 5 years, it's to be inspected every 5 years and pumped as needed.
So this would almost be a mandatory, instead of mandatory septic tank pump out, it'd be mandatory septic tank inspection.
And pumping if necessary.
And there needs to be something in there for the pumping companies that they must provide you with the documentation so you can keep a record of when it's done.
We're supposed to do is transport you, create manifest for every location.
Yeah, I think if the city goes back and takes this over, then we would have everything. It wouldn't be you calling and have Jeff, it'd be me or whoever calling Jeff, hey, 306 CV needs an inspection. He would bill us, he'd go out and he'd turn all the paperwork back in. We would just have to schedule with y'all and they showed up in your backyard, they have $50, so. You know, this is good. Any other thoughts on this whole septic tank? Anything y'all like, didn't like, or did it look all right? So obviously, if we added the rates, the sewer, and then the registration fee of $35, a lot of this would get taken out and just be city's responsibility. Okay.
Eric, I noticed down here in, requirements to have 2 cleanouts at a certain size, that's out on the concrete lid. I've only found one on mine, and I've exposed it, put a riser up, just for head pipe. What about those folks like me that's on, that septic tanks are, still solid and pass inspection, do you just have the one? And I've got two tanks, so am I gonna have to have 4 of those heads sticking out there, or just 2?
You got 2 septic tanks, or you got a septic tank and a grease trap?
I got a grease trap.
That's how my house is, so I got 1 lid on my septic and I got 1 lid on my grease, so I
That's
got
me.
2.
That's me.
So that's what you, yeah, so.
But according to this, it has to have a lid on the inlet and outlet, above the inlet and the outlet.
Because some of them, yeah,
That needs to be probably an or.
And
Because
or.
a lot of these tanks do just have one opening. They go dig the whole lid up and find one opening. So
I
I
know, I've been
think
there.
primarily, you would put it on the inlet side, because if you're gonna stop up on the plumbing side, it's gonna be on the inlet.
Right.
Because you're capturing water going to outlet.
So
that'll give the
what
plumbers
I'm saying is,
access.
do we hold to this requirement here that every septic lid has
no,
to
I think
have?
we do and or,
Okay.
just like you said, to where,
Okay.
yeah. I don't think it's necessary to have one over the inlet. and
I think it's
outlet.
getting an access to each tank.
And it's not, I don't think they're 12 inches. I
Most
think,
of them are.
I think they're 8 or 10 inch. They're just enough to get a pipe down to just, pump it out, but, and according to this, they're governed at 12 inches.
Yeah,
That's the
something
new
that's
state
state.
rule, so you just kind of adapted it.
So the
You're gonna have
existing,
grandfather.
the
bodies.
existing would be grandfathered, okay, I'm good with that.
This is more or less, you wanna build a new home in Lakeside City, here's everything you gotta do. And then it keeps it from us having to do it now. A lot of people will be grandfathered in. Say for instance, you're gonna do a remodel addition on your house. I think then that gives us some legs to come back, hey, well, if you're gonna do a remodel, you need or add an addition, you need to redo your septic tank too.
We need to be including that in this, then,
Yeah.
up to standards, like, Disability Act. If you do something different, you got.
Well, if you add an addition, sometimes you don't have any plumbing in that addition.
Yeah.
So why would you have to remodel your septic tank when all you're adding is,
You'd have to specify that.
Because if you go from 2 people to 6 people, because of the addition, you're gonna be putting more fluid out, so it needs to be serviced more often.
right, but if you like I did, I built on 560 square feet for an office, but there was no plumbing,
And no additional folks living in it.
no additional folks living in it.
Yeah, then I think you would be totally fine. You wouldn't have to do it, but and it's nothing more than keeping an honest man honest on this.
Yeah.
It's
One of those.
I
things.
And that can be taken to the city council and they can vote and say, you don't have to do anything.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing. I think it either comes to the city council or the sewer task force, hey, I want to do an addition, it's only gonna be office. This is why I don't want to have to redo my whole septic tank, and then they approve it or not.
Or you see somebody adding an addition,
Mhm.
you say, hey, is it gonna be plumbing? But you can tell pretty quick if plumbing's gonna be added. Okay,
Well, this is good.
Well, you'd have to, this would add quite an expense to an add-on if you're adding plumbing. So,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, that would have to be, somebody would have to know up front that this was part of the deal.
So they now have to bring drawings to you
Yeah,
for the addition.
now if you call me and you're like, hey, Eric, I want to add on the bedroom because my daughter's moving home, my son's wife will move back in. Okay, you can do that, Mike, but then you're gonna have to redo your septic tank too, at the same time.
Because you're adding people there. I agree.
And the only thing that could catch you is if you put an office in, you sell the house, and then people turn the office into a bedroom. But you're not gonna be able to catch everything.
no.
Good, what else? Any other things, changes on this? To keep moving then, I will.
We need to vote on this and send it to the council.
Let me make one more
Yeah,
change.
clean it up.
Let me clean it up, draft it again, and then I'll send it out to y'all. And then that way y'all can give the final stamp of approval, and then it'll go before council. We got till July 23rd, I think is our next, before our next council meeting, July 21st or something like that. We'll have it stamped and approved with y'all. Just so y'all know, we're still looking at, next Tuesday. Very important meeting at 6 o'clock. Kevin Chafee with, Envirotech is gonna do a demonstration of his thing, a proposal, everything else, what he's wanting to do on the package plant going out there. And even have some cost figures for us on his end. That won't be the whole cost, obviously there'll be some other stuff, but that's next Tuesday at 6 o'clock. He'll do it via Zoom. I was going to share, just so y'all know, we're still, oh, that's not it. This email came from Dean earlier. Just, this is in regards to, so y'all know we're exhausting all options. This is the pipeline cost estimate, go back to the city of Wichita Falls. He estimates, right now it's about 850,000, and that's including 10% of the contingency and 10% for engineering service, surveying. Didn't include anything for the easement purchases, but he believes that we can stay in public right away for the entire distance. We know that the city of Wichita Falls will ask Lakeside City to participate in the upgrade to their sewer system lift station. They're behind that's in regards to behind the state hospital. The amount is negotiable, but could range, in his opinion, from anywhere from 150,000 to 500,000, depending upon the ratio of expected flow from us. So that's just to give y'all food for thought. That's going back to the city of Wichita Falls. What I'm hearing from everybody is that's really not even an option anymore. Just because,
Last option.
yeah, it's a last resort option. And so, I'm gonna inform Dean, let's put this one on the back burner, not put too much more effort into it, and let's focus on what we need to do for a package plant and everything else. Good. I think Scott came up with this little flow chart. Y'all all should have it, and I think Scott has other stuff he wants to cover, so I'll turn it over to Scott, and let Scott cover it.
I'm trying to produce a document that we can put on the website, that people can see what we're doing and how we're doing it. And I thought maybe the flow chart would be the easiest way, because people can just follow the arrows. This is just an extremely rough draft, but it gives some idea. One side of it's the I&I water, because that's a major thing for us to look at.
You need to define that for
Yeah.
what I means.
It's a rough. It's an
Infiltration,
extremely rough,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, cause I come
They'll
in
be
the
able to-
first
they'll be
meeting,
able to-
everybody's talking I said, what the hell is I?
Sound like a tax item, doesn't it?
I didn't know.
We'll put in Wayne's legend, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And then on the other side is the lagoon. Do we, the lagoon, do we repair and dredge? Do we put mini plant in, or do we go to Wichita Falls? And then there's the bullets under that of some of the thought processes for that. I am extremely open to suggestions. This is just one man's,
I mean, it makes sense to me what you got in there.
and then as we do things, we can add more bullets to it. And then the public can look at it and say, okay, here's, we understand.
Would you say the public definitely want to see cost tied to it? So.
Well, that's.
Right now, we're just saying,
Right,
here's
right,
the
right.
approach we're doing.
Right,
and-
yeah.
And I think communicating with the public like that's good.
Sure.
You know,
Keep everything transparent.
And we've got our meetings now being live.
Yeah.
And, if we can give this to them, then they can put two and two together and not come up with five. The other thing I just gave you a couple of packets on is some grant money. One of them was quite interesting because it has to do with the water running into Lake Wichita. And people over 62 years of age can qualify, I believe it's up to $4,000 or $4,500 in a grant to fix their septic system.
Is this in this, Texas non-point soil
Yes,
management
yeah,
program?
right. Lake Wichita is considered a non-point.
Sure.
And, the last bullet at the bottom of the page, bacteria and nutrients from livestock, pet waste, and leaking septic systems. Okay, that's the big one on that. The other one is from USDA. It makes for light reading, but it's some of the programs for small rural and some of the grants that are available. And like you guys, I'm waiting for next week to see the costs on the mini plant. From what I'm hearing offline, it looks like that may be the best bang for the buck. The other thing I talked to Eric about earlier was our permit comes up in 2025. Chances are they're going to renew it like it is, but we don't know it. So at least if we're looking towards all the different avenues, then the state may act more favorably with our permit renewal.
I have another question. With the plant thing, would that, take away the old needing to, disperse it by saturating, that
Lagoons.
Yeah, the lagoons, then we would turn it into clean water and take it to, some kind of stream, tributary or something. But, cause I was curious, cause we don't own the land, we lease the land, is what you said.
We lease where we irrigate, where we own the land.
What would we do if we ever lost that lease?
Then, yeah, that's always a factor. Now, we
Yeah.
set that in the lease. We just renewed it in 2017, and it's one of those, it was originally a 25-year lease. And then after the 25 years, went out, it's a 10-year lease. And in 2017, it changed ownership, the lease did, or the land did. He didn't want to do a 10-year, he only wanted to do a 5-year. So now we're tied into a 5-year renewable thing. So we're good from 2017 to.
He's gonna figure out how much you really need him, and he can go.
Yeah, most of those farmers like that, it's doing him a very big plus. He's not having to water his fields, he grazes, most of them graze cattle out there, and it's great for him. It keeps his tanks full, his cattle's graze on it, he doesn't have to do a lot, and it's a good plus for him. But you do always run that risk.
Gotta have it over there.
Yeah. And usually TCEQ wants a 10-year, 25-year initial and then 10-year renewal, because that keeps you good for 10. This is something he wanted, and to be able to sign it. Now, he's super cool. We've never had a problem with him, the new owner and stuff, but.
Is there a lease fee with that, or is it just a
$1 a
benefit?
year.
Okay, it's mainly just the benefit.
Just a benefit. Yep.
But you're still gonna try to maintain type 1 and type 2 to get the package plan, so, and I think to answer your question, I think we're still gonna irrigate. Because Mike's gonna want that irrigation out there, so.
And I think you were explaining type 1, we could actually run it into stock tanks. Let it go.
Stock tanks, public has access to it, I guess, I mean, to say it loosely, I mean, you can't.
Right.
You know, but type 2, public doesn't have access to it.
But I think we also need to, so that the people, the citizens know, we can't run the water into Lake Wichita because it is a federally protected lake.
Right.
We have to go south with it. And is it a mile we have to?
We gotta give them out, we can run it back south to Lake Wichita, but the hurdles that you have to jump through to get to do it, and then once we say, hey, we're gonna dump our type 1 effluent into Lake Wichita, then City of Wichita Falls, it had to go before them, and we're afraid there's gonna be some very stringent rules on it, so we said, let's
Just go south.
just go south.
Sell it for irrigation.
You go south and it'll go where? Airhead?
No, there's some land right across Coley, there's some tanks right there, and it's one of those things you would dump into a stream that would run into a stock tank. And then it would keep that stock tank full to where it would overflow and then go on down and fill up the next guy's stock tank to where it's a continuous stream, except for in drought periods, it wouldn't be a continuous stream. That's pretty much what it
Offer
is.
it to farms close by, like, kind of like the diversion channel goes through and farms can take from it.
Vernon sells it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think,
yeah, you can tap in, for a certain cost a year, you can tap into the diversion channel and
so if you owned a farm and you wanted some water and you wanted to irrigate all the stuff, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, but we could sell it by the gallon for them to come out there and
Yeah, type 1 or type 2, depending on what the use is.
it's just a little bit more work to get that, because for our type 2 and irrigating on there, we gotta talk to one landowner, and that's it. And we're irrigating on his land. For this one, where we're doing the discharge, we gotta get a mile down the road, wherever it is. So if the guy right across the street owns a mile worth of land, then we're good. But it's not that way. There's about 4 different people downstream, so we have to get all 4 of them to be in agreement on it. But yes, I'm
So how would you
excited.
get that water from the type 1 to those, you had to pump it through a pipeline?
How would we have to get it?
Yeah, how would you get it from point A to point B to that stock tank?
Yeah. Pump it,
Polyline or something?
put a line up, road board,
Okay.
go to it now. We can put it right out to a drainage ditch as long as it goes into, doesn't go on anybody's land until it hits that. But yes, I'm excited about next Tuesday and the presentation and stuff like that. There's a lot of questions that I do want to ask him, so I encourage y'all, I know y'all have a lot, jot them down, and that's what it's gonna be for.
Is he gonna be here live or like a Zoom meeting?
Zoom meeting. He's traveling all this week, doing some stuff, and then just with COVID and everything else, he really didn't want to do any more traveling than he needed to, so he'll be logging on
He's
live.
offered to come in after the, show if I want.
What else?
Larry, have you got anything more on the grants?
I submitted a email to all members, and
You want to kind of recap it for the people?
there's a lot of grants out there right now. You just have to propose them. Right now, of the deadlines passed or not available for us right now until we get everything ready. But basically what you do is you go up there, you get all your documentation, so all you're ready to go, what we're gonna do, and then you make a plea, or I call it a plea, a statement of what, how, why do you need this money? And we need it because we're trying to be proactive in our approach to the water situation that we're having. And once you submitted that, they will tell you if you're approved or not. But sometimes the grant won't be approved till the next year. That's some of them are open, first come, first served. And it just depends on what grant we're gonna go to and what our qualifications. Like, I think the rural one, we don't qualify because we live too close to Wichita Falls. But there's others that are available just ad hoc grants, because they have to get rid of the money or they're not gonna be successful. And that's where it's gonna take somebody who knows how to write grants or knows what they're looking for and writing it out and giving it to these departments like the Texas Source Management Program. There's the HUD department, the Clean Water Act. A lot of them talk about the Section 319, which is very important, that a lot of the grant money is under for Texas. And that is basically the source of the grant money. And some of the grant money is for 100%, some of it for 60-40, 70-30, and then you go into the loan. A lot of people don't have even the money for the grant if they can. Then you go into these loan programs. And I want to kind of stay out of the loan. I don't want a loan, I want a grant that they'll pay most of the cost. And that was my suggestion, but if you look at that email, there's so many grants available. You just have to pick the right one that fits your needs or our needs, and we write it out.
I think that's where having a grant writer that is experienced in this particular field right now. Because they can know which ones that you need to go. Just like when I wrote fire grants. Well, I knew what buttons to push that sent our grant application beyond the computerized kick out and move it on to the guys who are actually gonna put eyes on it. But if you can get over into your narrative, you start getting somebody to look at your narrative. There's also some keys that those people need to know those key phrases and key things that they need to put in there to make a successful grant.
I agree.
And that's who.
Is there any way I can task y'all to, or whoever else, to start looking, researching, finding somebody like that's experienced in wastewater grant writing?
I got a fire station built, both on and off the clock.
Yeah, I know. Well, I understand.
I looked into, like this, I found out the 100 words that are for writing a good grant, that needs to be in there. And they are until we have that program of exactly what we're gonna do, are we gonna have a septic system? This company might have something like that.
Okay.
If they do deal with cities, they might have a way of doing it. We'll tap them in that
And
aspect.
that was a great asset that I used is, okay, these guys that I'm looking at buying their equipment, they've helped other people write grants, and they may have a narrative that they could share with you that would get you over the top. I found that to be
Okay.
a great
No, that makes
source.
sense.
And I did find out that we are in the Brazos Basin. Our watershed base has a 12-digit number in it. I found that. And those are all keys that have to be found before you start writing these grants.
That's good.
So I have that available. I've already researched that.
I'll make a
And
motion, we stick you on this.
no, I'm not a writer.
Everybody say aye.
I don't say aye. I'm not a writer.
No, not a writer, find a writer.
Fine.
Are there companies or attorneys that specialize in this issue that can be
Yes.
hired?
Yes, there are.
It's a great question.
They are. There's
Yeah.
companies that are professional,
That's all they
but
do?
they charge a pretty hefty fee, depending on how bad you want that grant and a fee is involved. I was trying to get-
Whether you get it done or get it not get it
What
done.
about Midwestern?
Huh?
What about Midwestern, some of their graduates?
I don't know. I was trying to call Texas A&M, but they're not available right now. Because they're one of the 8 colleges that are part of the Texas Soil and Conservation. But I can't get a hold of anybody, because they're shut down because of the coronavirus. So there's things out there. It just, whether we want to spend that extra money to get, because that's not a guarantee that we get the grant. See, that's what you have to look at too. You say, okay, let's say the fee is 1.7% of the grant. Is it because is it because if we get the grant, or is it because or just automatic 1.7% of the money that we want? They want to get paid first. And if we don't get the grant, we just wasted 1.7%.
If we don't have anybody competent enough that we trust to do it, then we may screw ourselves on not getting the grant at all.
Well, I'll tell you, I will volunteer. I'll look up what I can get a hold of. I'll look at some of these places. I think this person might have availability, and I'll try to get a hold of Texas A&M and see what I can get a hold of there. Because they are one of the 8 8 universities that are involved in it.
They may be back to campus, at least the administration may be there.
Maybe. I'll look.
Midwestern's back to campus now.
Are they?
The
Okay.
administration.
But I know when I did it 2 weeks ago, nobody was there.
Next week is gonna be the Zoom meeting,
Right,
so why don't we say in 2 weeks?
okay.
They'll give you a little bit of time.
Okay. I will do that.
Thank you for doing all you've done already. Anything else, gentlemen?
If anybody wants to come up with numbers, like how quantity of how many, that if we decide to do this, maybe we may want to buy, I can even start working on getting quotes.
I'll text me, call me tomorrow. I'll tell you how many septic tanks we got. I did it. So,
I don't have any federal ones, so you take mine off.
yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah, because it would have to be difference between older houses and newer houses, right? What are they doing on the newer ones?
I'll put them in.
It's just
Yeah.
tank to,
We're adding audible alarm still too, so there's a little test up there.
yeah,
Cause the old stuff doesn't have audible supply.
yeah.
Yeah, give it to me tomorrow. I'll call me tomorrow and I'll get you the numbers. How many, there's like 400 septic tanks. That makes sense to you? 455 to be, well, there's 329 on the west and 94 on the east, so there's 423 homes.
How many of those are the older systems?
Well, a lot of them shoreline has already been. capped.
Yeah. Apparently, years and years ago, TCEQ had us cap all the, water surrounding edge.
Yeah.
Cap the lateral lines. How many of those stayed on there? I mean, did it done? I don't know. So, the high number is 423, I would think somewhere. Yeah, start off at 350, because you're gonna have some that break.
Yeah, have extra in the way of that.
Or we start at 300 and go from there. Once we use all 300 up, we'll start somewhere else. That works. Anything else?
Tom, you got anything? Anything down there?
Motion.
Motion to adjourn?
It's gonna happen either way.
Larry, thank you for all your work you did on that.
We'll see. I'm gonna check all the text and everything. I still have that number.